Hey, this is Tom from Super Trained, and something I've been noticing is that more and more people who are having a hard time keeping track of all their Claude terminals, not just because they all look the same, but also because they are trying to do Claude on multiple clients if they're like a marketing agency or multiple projects if they have just a lot of different things going on. And a lot of times they're getting cross-pollination between the conversations or is reading files that it shouldn't be. I want to do a quick demo of how we set up our Claude codes so that we can manage our multiple clients without running into any sort of cross conversations or clods going into other directories when they shouldn't be or when they're not told to. So the first thing you want to do is, of course, get Claude Code set up. If you don't know how to do that yet, open Terminal. You can get that in your applications folder. And this is unfortunately mostly for Mac, but this should apply to Windows using, I think it's a PowerShell. Maybe that's outdated. It's been a while since I've really used Windows. You can pull up terminal by just typing it in here and pulling it up. And then you'll get a terminal window like this, which is basically your interface to your computer. And then you're going to want to go to code.claude.com. And you'll see this curl line here. You want to copy that and just paste it in and hit enter. And it will install Claude Code. Cool. So it's all set up. Once you have it, you're going to start it by just typing Claude. Yes, I trust the folder. And then you can see I'm already logged into my Claude account. The first time you do it, it'll probably open a browser tab for you where you just log into your Claude account. It gets it all connected, and then you're good to go. But without getting too technical, you can see that this initial Claude instance is basically at like the top level of my file structure. So it can read and go through everything possible, but if I have specific folders for different clients, that can be somewhat problematic. So what I suggest doing is going into your folders here. And the easiest way to open up a Claude instance for your different clients is to right click on the folder and come on down to new terminal at folder. And it will bring up a terminal at that right spot. So you can see here that it's got the same name, Snow there, which is a family ski directory that we're working on. And the same thing here, you can just go into Claude, trust this folder, and now you can see that Claude is living in this folder here. And you can do that for all your other ones. So we got clone ICP, Claude, and another fun little terminal fact, if you hit up, it'll go to your previous command. So you can see that this one is clone ICP and super hired, which is our AI enabled recruiting company. And then super trained, which is just all of our interesting AI projects. I'll open up Claude. So now I have 4 different Claude Code instances that are living uniquely in their own folders. And let's see, let's start a conversation. I'll say something like, please get set up to actually work in this project. So it's always going to ask for permissions. There is an ability to automatically approve everything. That's maybe a little bit more advanced. So here it'll say, don't ask anymore. And we'll do the same thing for each of these. All right, now everything's basically all the same. They're all at the same level of conversation. But the deeper you build the relationship between Claude and the project, the more complex and unique it will be. And you want to keep that complexity and uniqueness tied to that Claude Code session. So as you can see, after asking that, Claude created this .claude file. That's kind of where all of its information lives specific to this Claude instance. So now whenever I open a terminal and a Claude instance from within this project, it will read that Claude file and pick up where we left off. Versus if I were to do it at my top level, it would pick up the Claude conversation from there. And if I'm doing it at a top level and I'm having multiple conversations across different projects, it can get confused because the Claude file fills up with information across all the projects. So we want to keep it as separate as possible. All right, so these are all set up. And now the next problem, they all look the same. Like keeping track of all these things. I mean, you can look at the little icons up here, which helps a little bit. But when you are across so many different projects and have them open at the same time, it can be kind of confusing to see the difference between them. So what I like to do is to change the background color. It's a small little tweak that'll help you visually keep track of these things. Snow there, I know it's kind of like snowy looking, so I'll pick something that's kind of dark, lighten it up a little bit. So there's the snow one. For clone ICP, I like to use green for it. And that's kind of how I branded it in my mind. And as you start to do this with more and more projects, it will start to get like a little bit of visual branding for each of the projects you're working on and kind of shortcut that. Super hired, we will do, that's more of like an orangey color. Ugh. Orange, where are you? Like a reddish orange. Yeah, something like that. And then for super trained, how about navy? So if you are a marketing agency and you're working across multiple clients and you want to keep them straight and keep everything organized within a folder, and so you don't have a lot of contamination between your Claude Code sessions, this is how you would do it. Similarly, if you're working on a bunch of different projects and you don't want them to be confused by what you've done with other projects, you do it this way. And you aren't locked in to it like from reading elsewhere. It's just going to have all the context and conversation from this project located within this project. I can still go out and ask it to look elsewhere in my directory structure and go find information. So if I was successful with one of my clients on a specific tactic, I would potentially ask this to go look at that tactic and see how we could adapt it for a new client. So that's how I like to set up my Claude Code instances, to keep them straight, to keep them narrowly focused on the project at hand, and to visually brand them so it's easy for me to quickly hop back in. You will be doing a lot of context switching, because once you get one Claude Code cooking and it's going to work for 20 minutes, you have to figure out what you're going to do for that 20 minutes. You could go check emails, or if you have multiple projects, you can hop to the next one. And as long as you don't run out of your credits, they will all go on their own. They won't get confused with each other, and they will all work solely on the project that you have them installed in. All right, I'm back. I forgot to mention one other thing, that if this is all just too complicated for you and you don't want to be having conversations in a terminal, but you still want the power of Claude and interacting with the files on your computer and with your computer itself, Claude does have you covered. So if you go to claude.com/download and you download their app, you will have the power of Claude on your computer. But this is the first step. The next step is you go to this cowork, and this is effectively a more user-friendly interface for Claude Code. And with this, you can work in any folder. So similarly, how we had project folders set up, you can just go and connect to a folder. So if I go to the Claude demo, you can go to the folders and you can just log into that folder. So let's go to there and I hit open. Allow Claude to change files in there, always allow. And now you are basically having the conversation in that same spot. So that's an easier and more user-friendly way to do it if you don't want to have a conversation in the terminal. The one challenge here is that you are going to have to switch between the different project folders, but otherwise it's an easier way to interact with the files on your computer using Claude Code.